DDG episode 156. My name is Dave Hunt, and I'm joined by Michael Swick.
How's it going, Dave? We're in a flu season.
I was exhausted yesterday, man.
Same. Definitely is that time where you might hear some sniffles on this episode. You might hear some occasional coughing. I think me and Dave are both kind of dealing with a little bit of cold, a little bit of sickness. I don't know about you, Dave, but like I'm at work and everybody's sneezing and coughing, and it's just like okay, here we are.
You work in an enclosed environment. I'm just exposed all the time now.
The only problem is there's nowhere to go in my environment. Yeah. It's just, there's no windows, really.
Everything's relative. 6 in one, half dozen in another. I'm going to expose myself to 100 people at 30 seconds at a time, or that one dude that's sick for like 6 hours.
Yes, exactly. So, but we made it. We're recording. Day late on Twitch, but we'll have an episode, I think, Thursday.
Yeah, we should.
For everyone else.
All right, so we are Digital Days Gaming. We're a weekly show that posts every Thursday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern Time on podcast services around the world. If you're able to leave us a review on the service that you listen to us on, that is always helpful. Please do so. You can also watch us live on Twitch, twitch.tv/digitaldaysgaming. You can subscribe with Twitch Prime Gaming. I always mess that up. You can subscribe with Prime Gaming if you have Amazon Prime, link it with your Twitch, and you can use a free subscription on us or on a streamer of your choice. Just don't let Amazon have all that money. So please spend it on somebody, as well as just downloading the show is super helpful. Sharing the show is helpful as well. All of the other links are in the show notes, and I'm trying to... My goal for 2023 is to compact that more, and that's just the start of it. So we're going to jump right into some of the news.
All right, Dave, I hope you watched it. The Super Mario Brothers trailer. The second trailer has come out, and we actually hear Chris Pratt's voice. We hear Charlie Day's voice as Luigi. What do you think?
Jack Black as Bowser.
Well, yeah, he was mainly the voice actor we heard in the first trailer. So
More
I think
Princess Peach. I don't know the person's name. Sorry.
Anna Taylor-Joy from the Gambit, Queen's Gambit. So what do you think of the voice acting, Dave? Because I know everyone in my Discord servers were not happy. I wasn't either. I was actually disappointed in some other performances. But
I don't care. Like it like the animation looks cool. Owen's enthralled by it, seeing it. So, and I think it's one of those things where I'll watch the movie. It might bother me for like the first 3 to 10 minutes, and then I'll just adjust and get used to it, and that'll be how it is. Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, I know like it's bad to compare. Like, Sonic the Hedgehog doesn't talk or didn't talk in the video games. Mm-hmm. Not much or at all. I don't think.
Not in the first three. The Genesis ones, he didn't talk. No one really talked in Genesis.
The cartoon Sonic, the animated series cartoon stuff that when we were teenagers or
infants
was fine. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Shut up. So and then the Sonic movie, like, it didn't bother me. So I think this voice. In comparison, I think the voice acting we saw in this trailer was better than the first one.
From Chris Pratt? I mean, we actually
there
heard
wasn't much in the first one that people were like, huh? There was like sound effects he was making and stuff like that. I'm just concerned that they're trying to do too much in one movie. Like, that's what I got out of that. Like, you saw Mario Kart, you saw like him like what looked like similar to some type of like Smash Brothers thing, like with him like running into Bowser, and it's just like, how my immediate response is, how chaotic is this movie going to be from start to finish?
It does feel like, ignore the pun, they're throwing the kitchen sink at the Mario movie, where they're giving you every Mario reference. This is going to be like an Easter egg hunt for everything they're going to fit in there.
I mean, like Rainbow Road and all this other like, it's just
it's a lot. I think story-wise, it'll probably be fine for a Mario movie. Like, I'm not really expecting much from that. I knew I wasn't going to like the voice acting, but I was also disappointed with, like, I was expecting Charlie Day's Luigi to be really good, and it felt very stale and boring. Yes, it's just a 90-second trailer, but I was expecting, like, more energy. I think Chris Pratt was terrible in the trailer.
I think this is one of those things where they're in a no-win situation. Like, yeah, should they have just given it to the guy that did Mario? Sure. There's got to be a reason, A, that they didn't, and B, it doesn't matter. Like people are, and I'm not criticizing your opinion when you say this, but like this is exactly why Link doesn't have a voice ever. Because it's never going to fit the bar. It would never, like, it's either this or nothing. It's either this is acceptable and that's the only thing that's acceptable and nothing else.
Yeah, well, I think the problem is, like, 'cause I don't know so, like, you mentioned Sonic. Sonic went from being voiced by Urkel to being voiced by Ben Schwartz. Sorry, I don't know Urkel's name off the top of my head. And I think most people were okay with Ben Schwartz because he's like a likable like actor and he's got a very like energetic voice. Going from Charles Martinet to Chris Pratt doesn't give you that at all.
No, I don't get the fascination with this, like when they first announced this movie, the focus on this is who the voice actor for this is who the voice actor for this is. I don't understand that versus we're making a Mario movie and we're going to tell a cool Mario story. Like they probably spent more money in the voice actors than they did in the animation.
For sure. At this point, with the amount of actors they got in there, like just even the bit players, like Donkey Kong's in this movie, but he's not going to be the main villain in the movie. But they put Seth Rogen on there. It's just like you don't need to do that right now.
Yeah.
It does seem odd. I'm wondering if the reason there's like two reasons why I think you don't go with the original Mario voice actor is one, can he read hundreds of lines in that voice and it be a watchable movie? Probably not. And two, he gets paid video game voice actor money. He doesn't get paid Hollywood voice actor money, and they would rather pay a big actor Hollywood money than give the Mario actor Hollywood money and then go back to paying him video game money.
Yeah, but do you think a Chris Pratt fan, and they exist, like a Chris Pratt fan is going to go see this movie because Chris Pratt is the voice actor for it?
Well, you said a Chris Pratt fan. Yeah, a Chris Pratt fan will do that because they're crazy fans like that. Okay. But I don't know if this is going to push anyone like that's leaning on the fence of like, I kind of like Mario. Oh, Chris Pratt's in it? Like, I don't think it's going to push anyone off the fence.
But do you also think it's going to, like, is the voice acting making you second guessing going to see this movie in the theater?
Yeah, like I already had problems with Chris Pratt being the voice actor because I think we talked about it. I don't care about like his personal like politics, religion. I think he's overexposed in terms of he's in everything.
Agreed. Yeah.
And that's problematic for me. But then I was also hoping like Charlie Day would save it, and I didn't feel his stuff in the trailer was that good. Even the Toad voice actor.
Do you think there are movies that exist? Do you think there's movies that exist that just trailer bad? That they're actually decent to good movies and they just I don't even know if that's the right term to use, but you know what I mean. Like, they just don't trailer well. Like they don't show in trailers well because I think the Josh Langford of the world goes, I'm not watching any trailers anyways because they show too much. So he goes in with no expectation. You know.
Yeah, now I want to see Josh in a theater being like, is that Chris Pratt? What the fuck?
Right.
Like. Though he likes Marvel, so he might be like, Star-Lord? Okay. Movies trailer horribly all the time. Trailer bad. We'll just coin that phrase right now. I think that happens all the time.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I think that definitely happens all the time. You either have trailers that give away too much, or you have trailers that they kind of misadvertise the movie. One of my favorite movies, Drive, was horribly done trailer wise to where you kind of thought it was going to be a Fast and the Furious movie, and then the movie comes out and it's not one of those, and people were upset by that. I was excited for that because I don't like Fast and the Furious movies, but it definitely does happen a lot. So there's a chance this is going to be fine.
Right. But would you rather had this been voice acted by nobodies?
Potentially, because like I hear Chris Pratt's voice. Is the problem I have. And
you hear Chris Pratt's voice, and then you picture Chris Pratt's. Gosh, this is hard. You picture Chris Pratt's face on Mario. Like we all do it. Like,
I picture him delivering the lines, and I'm just like, oh, this is real bad.
Right. Versus not knowing. And again, this is probably a terrible reference, but when Darth Maul was cast in Star Wars, like they went after. They found him at like a tournament.
Yeah, they were looking for someone who could do the
They didn't care what he said or if he knew how to act. They cared. They had a specific thing they wanted him to do, and they wanted him to be elite at it. And they go, everything else we can take care of. Mm-hmm. Everything else. And I feel like that's kind of like what an animated movie is like there's a specific thing that you want. So, all right, let's find out who can sound the most like Mario.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that.
No, that's a problem. Like, I would have almost rather it be a cheap imitation than just like, hey,
and none of us would have cared if it was a 37-year-old woman.
No, because I mean that happens in animation all the time.
Right.
So like it wouldn't have
most
mattered.
people don't realize that a Simpsons voice actor, more people know it now, but doesn't she do like 6 characters?
Yeah. Bart's voice actor is a woman. Ash Ketchum in Pokemon is voiced by a woman. So like it wouldn't have mattered like who they got, but because they went with the names, it's hard to separate the names. And
they led with the names.
Yes.
Versus showing us a trailer with voice actors on it and then finding out after that oh, that's Chris Pratt. Most people would have known, we can hear stuff but they led with the names.
Yeah.
Instead of with Mario.
I think that's why.
I don't know why.
Yeah, I think that's why the first trailer they focused on Jack Black a lot. Because he actually has a really good performance, and he also is loved by video game communities.
He's a phenomenal voice actor. He's a phenomenal actor.
Yeah,
and he's just a phenomenal person in the gaming community.
Yeah, so like I think that's why he did all the heavy lifting that first trailer, and that's why Chris Pratt only said one word because they were like, "All right, we already invested the money into this, and it's not easy." Recasting a voice actor because sometimes a lot of the work is done based off their acting, so they're leading with Jack Black, which is why I think they're already talking about like, oh, we might do a Donkey Kong movie. Well,
and also that's what I think it is too, is that this is a multi. If I had to guess, this is a multi-movie deal, like on paper, and it's easier to know what you're getting with bigger stars like this, of like, okay, we're signing Chris Pratt or Jack Black to a 3-movie contract versus the other person that signs a 3-movie deal and then the movie blows up and they realize they're severely underpaid and they try to renegotiate the contract and then they have to change.
Yeah, Chris Pratt, you're just like, here's your contract for 3 movies and
here's the Chris Pratt tax built in already.
Yeah. Yeah, they build it out that way, as opposed to if they get, like you said, a nobody or someone, or an established or not established.
Hey, I didn't realize how much of a commitment this really was. I'm out.
Yeah, I mean, we see that with Marvel, where they'll recast an actor immediately because it's just like, my character turned out to be popular.
And again, Peter Dinklage in Destiny was like, yeah, I'll do that, sure. Oh wait, you want me to do something every 90 days? See ya.
Yeah, basically. And also, it didn't help that he sounded bored recording everything.
Regardless, I mean, like, I don't think
he might not have known.
He didn't want to do the time. He didn't have the time commitment. Like, he didn't.
He was on the biggest show in the world at the time.
Right.
Like, there's no way they're going to be able to get him.
I'm not going to. I don't have time to like set aside a week to talk into a microphone every other month for you. Like, no.
Yeah, and then when you get someone like Chris Pratt, they're basically not even human. Like, their lives are scheduled around like their movie schedules, so you can easily slot times into their lives of like, in a year and 3 months you're in a studio making this movie because it's in between the next Jurassic Park and the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and you can just build around that schedule, as opposed to an unknown where you can't do that.
Yep.
I hated the voice acting, but the movie actually looked fun, outside of the fact that I wasn't expecting to see Mario Kart stuff in there. And then seeing like,
are you going to be able to walk into the theater and separate that though, and be like, okay, I'm not going to focus on the voice acting. I'm just going to watch the movie. Can you do that?
Yeah, I can do that. But like once I leave the movie, I'm going to be like, oh, this could have been better. Just because I'm a terrible person and I critique video games. So like, of course I'm going to be like, this could have been better.
This is 58 frames. This is bull.
Yeah. It's a movie, so it's going to be 24 frames. So I'm going to be like, they couldn't even hit 30. Fucking Nintendo.
Hey, it's higher than Pokemon.
True. It is harder than Pokemon. We're avoiding Pokemon in this house right now.
That sold 10 million copies at 20 frames a second. Yeah, they're totally.
Yeah, we'll talk about games selling, and I should have just added the 10 Pokemon game sales because it makes the PlayStation one kind of funny. But we'll move on. This one, Dave, I'm assuming you're not going to care too much about, but I thought it was kind of interesting.
I've seen this movie.
Oh, you have? Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Okay. All right. There's a 12-player co-op Starship Troopers game coming. It's going to be in early access in 2023. It is the developers behind Beyond the Wire, which is a 50 versus 50 multiplayer game.
Okay.
Never heard of it, but the way they like mention that, it
coming
seems like something
from the Beyond the Wire team.
Yeah. So yeah, we got an announcement trailer. It just kind of was announced out of nowhere. I almost feel like they must have been rejected by Keighley because the Game Awards are in like a week. And I don't mean it as a mean thing.
Yeah, no, dog. We're gonna pass.
Yeah, Jeff Keighley. Jeff Keighley just smoking the biggest blunt, just looking at trailers, being like, "Nah, this ain't gonna fly. This won't fit into the hour pre-show and the half-hour post-show. It's just gonna be.
You don't even qualify for the blue carpet show.
Yeah, you're not gonna be the Mountain Dew surprise trailer.
Is there a trailer for real for this though?
Yes, there is an announcement trailer.
Is there gameplay?
It's 30 seconds. There's not really much of anything. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that's
the
gameplay.
concept intrigues me of what from the movie of like what the shooting would be like, and the space stuff and the planet stuff and what you're fighting and working with a team like that. That aesthetic, like immediately, like reading this, like is like okay, that environment could work.
Yes, it very much lends itself, but it being announced as an early access game, it's being done by developers that we don't really know that well.
Now it starts to go downhill.
Yeah, it's weird though, because not too long ago there was like a bunch of announcements of like the RoboCop game, a Terminator game.
Yeah.
It just seems like whoever's in charge of these licenses, they just don't care anymore. And like, if you're any studio, you could just ask. And the worst case is they say no, but it seems like no's not being said often.
Yeah. So how much for this IP license? Okay, here, I'm going to write a number on a napkin. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. I wonder if it's just people that don't know video games that are in charge of these licenses that are just like, yeah, you made a game? That's cool. And then they can just let you, and I don't mean that as an insult to the Beyond Wire developers.
Right. We have no idea,
Yeah, it just seems kind of odd that like a lot of these like 80s and 90s movies are being like hit up for licenses for video games.
On the surface, from a video game mechanical standpoint, my biggest problem with this is like 12 players is a lot. B, it almost guarantees you that there has to be some form of matchmaking. And that automatically, in my mind, dumbs down the mechanics of the game. So,
what perfect scenario for me is it's 12-player co-op, but you're actually just in squads of 4.
Yes, agreed.
And it's a big map, and you guys are all working together to get to like the big bug to then work together. I feel like that would be.
I could see that.
Yeah, because 12 people on a screen.
That also makes a lot of sense.
Yes,
and usually game developers don't do what makes a lot of sense.
Especially if they don't have the budget to implement these things. Basically, I want MAG from the PS3, but in a Starship Troopers universe, to where it's an actual army fighting it out.
Are early access games typically free, or do they usually cost? But then you get rewards for doing, because like you're usually early access guarantees Steam, correct?
Yes, yeah. When it's early access, capital E, capital A, it's early access.
Okay. So typically you pay for this though, right? Like,
yes. Yeah.
Okay. You just don't pay the same price that people pay when it launches.
Correct. Usually if it's
you pay like a discounted price.
If it's a good early access game, you're paying half price or like 3/4 price of what the final game will cost.
And then you get a bunch of like early adopter rewards and stuff like that for participating in the early access stuff.
Yes. Yeah. So that's what I'll imagine this is going, unless they're going free to play from the start, which I don't think they mentioned anything about that in the announcement. Otherwise, I imagine they will charge like some dollar amount to get early access. Which probably won't be the best way to play this if it requires 12 people. Early access stuff, in my experience, it needs to be a massive success in early access. Because man, I've reviewed some early access games, and it's always a bummer when it's like early access multiplayer because you shrink down to available players. But yeah, this is interesting. I like Starship Troopers. That movie's awesome. Have never seen the sequels, but
I was gonna say I knew there was additional ones, but I don't have like a vast recollection of the movie, but I have seen the movie. So
yeah, I rewatch it every couple years because it's just such a. I don't want to say perfect because people are going to think I mean like perfect filmmaking, but for what it was trying to do, I think it does it well. You know,
you know me, Michael. I'm all for an entertaining popcorn movie at any time. Yeah. You know, like this is 90 minutes of my time that I didn't doze off and was interested in the story. Like I'm fine.
Yeah, it works so many levels. This movie. We're just talking about Starship Troopers now because there's nothing else to talk about. It gives you the basic dumb popcorn movie that anyone would want, you know, in terms of like I just want to see bugs explode. But then there's also social commentary like dug in there if you want to dig for it, and you don't really have to, they slap you over the head with most of it. But it's also just a cool movie where they just kill bugs, and a good bug's a dead bug. So if you haven't seen Starship Troopers, watch that and hope this game's good. I don't have any expectations for this, but maybe it'll be good. Maybe we'll talk about this and like, oh my god, the new Fortnite is Starship Troopers.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not happening. All right. God of War Ragnarok is PlayStation's fastest selling first party game. So it's already sold 5.1 million copies. It beat out the previous record holder, The Last of Us Part 2, which sold 4 million copies in 3 days. And Last of Us had previously beaten Spider-Man, and Spider-Man had previously beaten God of War. So PlayStation is doing really well with their first parties. It seems like it's like unstoppable at this point. Like they are constantly topping themselves. I just put this in here because slow news week, but mostly just to show that like PlayStation is definitely like super healthy right now, despite whatever they say in our next story we'll talk about. But
and water's wet and the sky is blue. God of War sold like crazy glue.
It's just God of War Ragnarok. It's a good game. I will talk about what we're playing and watching, so I'm not surprised at this. It's on a PS4 and a PS5, so
I would love to see separated sales, but we won't.
I would be curious because there's like how many PS5s?
There's a lot of fives out there. There's a lot of PS5s out there.
It's like 20 million now, right?
Yeah, something I would assume that, you know, if you have a PS4 and a PS5 in your house, you're playing these games on PS5. Like I would just assume, unless there's some situation where your PS5 is like in your primary living area and your game room is in the basement or something. But even then, I just don't see it. Like I would assume that if you own them both, you're playing this on PS5.
Yeah, and there's no cross buy or anything with this one. So
well, I think if you buy the 5, you get the 4 automatically.
Okay,
I think it goes reverse, but it doesn't go up.
Okay, yeah.
I think.
Yeah, because then that could like inflate these numbers, but these are like straight up copies sold. But yeah, God of War Ragnarok 5.1 million copies. I think a day after this was announced is when Nintendo announced Pokemon. So like a combined 10 million copies. Yeah, basically. Which we'll just bring it up in this next story. Dave, I know you said you're tired of the Activision Blizzard ordeal, but a day after we recorded, a bunch of great quotes and sound bites, or not sound bites, a bunch of great quotes made it out to the press from PlayStation, Activision, and Xbox. So I'm just going to go through these bullet points. You can stop me when you want to stop me, though I think the first one ties in perfectly. PlayStation warned EU regulators that Xbox is trying to make PlayStation like Nintendo. Basically, Nintendo has been iced out of the mature shooter market, and now that Xbox could own Activision, they'll own all the prominent first-person shooter franchises. And they can't compete in first-person shooters.
Destiny.
No, that was the funny thing is like the entire time they're like, we can't make a first person shooter like Call of Duty, and they own Bungie.
The studio that probably makes the best first person shooters ever, and
are still credited with making Halo.
Yeah,
like they made Halo and Destiny. So yeah, basically PlayStation is like, hey, Xbox is trying to make us Nintendo, and that will be terrible for the gaming industry if we were like Nintendo.
Mommy, Jimmy took my ball. Give me my ball back. Jimmy took my ball.
But like this is the idea. They're trying to make us like Nintendo. It's like, you mean the company that just sold twice as many copies of your prominent game, and also like, I would argue PlayStation's kind of already like Nintendo in terms of like their first party titles sell really well for their platform.
Yeah.
Just like Nintendo, except there's blood and guts in PlayStation ones, as opposed to Nintendo, who have
PlayStation has been for years referred to as the adult Nintendo.
Yeah.
For years.
Yeah. But this hearing is thrown out there by PlayStation as if it's a bad thing. But it did make me realize that, like, Xbox is going to own, if just first-person shooters, they're going to own Halo, Doom, Call of Duty, Overwatch, like, and there's a couple more in there, but like, yes, they will have all the prominent first-person shooters, but PlayStation saying like, we can't compete, period, is just like, you bought Bungie for a reason.
Right.
Unless Bungie's going to surprise them and be like, haha, third-person open-world action game, then like, oh shit.
Again, even so, like, any studio that Sony owns or is partnered with is making a first-person shooter, that engine is going through Bungie Studio. Guaranteed.
Yeah, if not the engine, like mechanics and microtransactions, that's all going to go through Bungie.
Well, no, I mean, like, okay, like, put in their aim system. Like, I'm not a game developer, but, you know, put in their sensitivity or their aiming system or their FPS system, and then build it around your engine. Like,
yeah, I mean, or just, again, it's something we talk about where, like, if you're telling me the people that are, like, behind the economy in Destiny aren't looking at factions too right now.
Correct.
Like, they're looking at it. Even if it doesn't mean they're going to actually do any, like, dirty work, it just means they're looking at it. And we're like, this could be different. PlayStation also warned that if this acquisition goes through, Xbox could raise the prices of games and consoles. This is funny.
Sony already did?
Yes, because Xbox hasn't raised prices on their games yet. PlayStation raised the prices on their first-party games by $10, and also PlayStation increased their prices around the world for the consoles, except in the U.S.
Is Starfield available for... No, it can't be available for pre-order without a release date, right?
No, it's available for pre-order.
How much is it?
$60.
Okay.
Yeah, Xbox is not... Because they don't care what they price the game because they're trying to sell Game Pass,
right.
So...
Yeah.
It's
I was just saying, like, their next game, their next marquee title that Xbox owns that's coming out is still going to be $60 on a next generation console or a current gen console. And God of War just came out and it was $70 on PS5. So who is raising prices?
No, exactly. And Xbox will raise their prices eventually, but right now they don't have anything to raise the prices on.
You could get a Series S over the last week for like $240.
Yeah, man, I almost bought one because there was the deal for $250, and I think they were adding a $50 gift card on top of that.
Instagram was selling something, and then your first purchase on Instagram was like a percentage off or something. Like, I was like, I didn't even know Instagram was a thing.
Yeah,
like
no,
Instagram Marketplace. So
I think it was Target that added a $50 gift card to the $250 Xbox Series S, and I was just like, damn, that's tempting, but I don't need one.
Right.
So that's just funny. PlayStation also during this basically said like the EA has failed consistently with Battlefield. Like they didn't say that they weren't that harsh, but they were basically like the closest competitor to Call of Duty is Battlefield, and they've never been able to find the traction to fully compete with Call of Duty. So the idea that PlayStation just out of nowhere is just like Battlefield can't do it, you know, is definitely like super, super funny because EA is just like minding their own business, you know, like
what'd we do?
Yeah, and they're getting called out and being reminded that Battlefield 2042 failed.
It also is one of those things where, like, if for some reason this is bad PR, I think, in terms of bad optics, because if for some reason, when this deal with Activision Blizzard Xbox goes through, which it will, and then Sony, let's just say that whatever games as a service or first person shooter Sony's trying to warrant in their own studios or their own companies and their own acquisitions agreements doesn't do as well as other stuff, and then they want to go to Battlefield later and say, hey, let's work out an exclusivity deal, let's work out a marketing deal, and they're gonna be like, well, you said that our stuff wasn't on par.
Well, here's the funny part is after this happened, Xbox Game Pass announced Battlefield 2042 is coming to Game Pass. So like, I don't know if the timing was just perfect or pre-planned. But it is kind of hilarious that it's on Game Pass.
It's not terribly surprising with EA Play being on Game Pass.
Yeah, but it's coming sooner than it usually would have come to
That's
EA
because
Game
people
Pass.
aren't playing the game.
Yes, it's not. It's not like a baller move. It's like, oh God, we're desperate. Also, someone was talking shit about us, so we have to see if this can help.
How do we get like 20 million people to sign in real quick? Put it on Game Pass.
Activision Blizzard kind of broke their silence. They've actually been very quiet during this whole thing. I don't know if that's just like some weird legal thing, but Activision Blizzard spokespeople or executives were like, we're going to fight to make this deal happen, which just makes sense because I think they're starting to get a little nervous because their stock price is kind of like dipping anytime some stuff happens. Well,
they want their retention money too.
Yeah, they got to make sure. I'm sure bonuses,
bonus or whatever it is. Yeah.
Serbia approved the deal in their country, so that's like the third country to approve the deal. Microsoft is apparently already willing to make concessions to get the deal cleared in the EU. What those concessions are, no one knows, but they are ready to do whatever they have to do to get this deal to go through. Which I wonder if that's going to be PlayStation's forever contract. Which would be a weird thing for them to like have to do, or they could shed some of Activision Blizzard as part of this deal, which would theoretically
I think would kind of suck.
Yeah, that would kill whatever they shed, basically.
Yeah, and then I think that if they are forced into the forever deal, then you're gonna have Microsoft playing hardball with like, okay, well, like you said last week or 2 weeks ago, like Treyarch isn't making Call of Duty anymore. They're making Duty of Call.
Yeah. They're like, hey,
they're making modern. I can't. They're making Warfare Advanced instead of like this is a new first-person competitive shooter.
Or it could be even pettier than that, of just like they're making Black Ops. They're not making Call of Duty. They're making Black Ops.
Right.
And just drop the name there. And then also it has been reported that there is supposed to be some antitrust lawsuits being put in the U.S. against this deal. So it sounds like it might not be as smooth sailing as people expected it to be in the U.S. But I don't know if many people expected it to be like super smooth. So there's some antitrust lawsuits going against the deal in the U.S. that apparently are going to be filed soon, according to sources from a bunch of different websites. So, Dave.
Yeah, but don't all these places go on vacation like next week until like January 10th?
Yeah, but like the deal, I think they said it would take like until like next summer.
Either approve it or don't approve it, and let's just move the hell on. Like I'm tired
at this point. Yeah, and the only thing that sucks though is like what's going to happen is like Activision Blizzard's going to have to go out there and be like, we will die if this deal doesn't go through, and all the people that work for us will be unemployed, and then the deal will probably get pushed through. But yeah, that's all the news, Dave, unless you want to talk about Activision Blizzard a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. No.
Yeah, okay, yeah. We'll see next week what happens. Hopefully they go on holiday break soon, because
I just want Jim Ryan's aunt to start speaking about it. How about that?
I want so much to start happening. We completely forgot about like the union disputes at Activision Blizzard during all of this. So I'm sure that's going to come back up soon enough. And this thing continues to be messy and kind of hilarious because, man, is PlayStation getting kind of wild with some of the stuff they're throwing out. And Xbox is starting to get tired of it, and I kind of love when corporations fight. It's hilarious. But that's it for the news.
All right. With it being pretty much December, nothing is delayed. Nothing's really been kind of announced either. So what we're planning on watching. Real quick, I started... I don't know if Michael's going to roll his eyes or laugh at this or just not say anything. So I started watching the show on Disney Plus, The Santa Clauses. It's based on the Tim Allen Santa Claus movies.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
No one could hear me not shake my head.
The part that really kind of messed with me off the bat is Tim Allen's in it, and he made some reference to, I've been Santa Claus for 24 years, and I'm like, the hell you have? And I googled a movie that came out in 1994.
yeah, I remember I was like 5 when I saw that movie.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy.
So kind of that was like what made me feel old. It's a Disney Plus show. It's 25-minute long. It's like 3 episodes in. If you're a fan of the Santa Claus movies with Tim Allen in them, I think you'll like this. If you weren't a fan, you probably won't like it. And then that's pretty much what I watched, because I watched like the Lions game on Thanksgiving Day, and then I worked Friday, Saturday. Sunday was kind of recovery day, and then Monday, Tuesday we're getting a little under the weather. So played a little bit more God of War. I don't know where I'm at in the game in terms of like percentage of story. I think I'm like 12 or 13 hours in. So I haven't had a chance to play too much this week. I don't even want to say anything because I don't necessarily want to spoil anything.
Yeah,
of where
that's kind of where
it's
I'm
so
at.
hard.
Yeah.
So I am starting to see a little bit more of what you were talking about like the kind of like the irritating voice acting thing, like when you're doing a battle and they're like, hey, just do this, and I'm like, okay, like I'm legitimately trying to do that at this moment. Like,
I didn't even finish turning my camera around to see the area.
Yeah, no, I'm not even talking about like the puzzle thing. Like I've gotten over the puzzle thing at this point in time. Like it's more of like during the fight, trying to figure out, certain
especially
things.
once you get more confident in the controls and unlock all the abilities, or most of the abilities, you're moving way too fast for the voice acting to keep up with your actions.
Yeah.
So having someone scream behind you, it's just like, I turned around a while ago.
I still suck at trying to use my shield. Like I need to be more deliberate on using my shield. And I think I said this before, like I hate the health pickup system. Hate it.
Oh, the little stomp thing, yeah. Because sometimes it's in a bad spot. Sometimes I've had a couple enemies.
I hate it. Like I hate it. Like,
yeah, I've had a couple enemies dying like poisonous gas, and I'm just like, damn it! And I gotta go freeze the poison gas flower, and then get the health and hope I don't die. And then the revive system is weird. Like I've only died like a handful of times, but like you need the specific stone to be resurrected.
But sometimes it's not even worth it. Like you're not even that far into the checkpoint. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, the checkpoint system's
use
actually
it when like the boss is like almost dead, and I die because of some. And I just like I'm loving the story, and I'm loving most of the dialogue between the characters, and trying to see what one character is explaining to another character. Like that's all fantastic. But I'm starting to think that like I know November is a prime time for these games to come out, but not for me. Like for a game to come out in November, like I want to do a spoiler cast with you, and I'm worried that I'm not going to get this game done by Christmas. And it has nothing to do with not being interested in the game. It just has to do with like schedules with my wife and myself and work and exhaustion and life. Like right now, like during this time of year, like it's just so much going on.
Yeah. Well, so like last week I told you like nothing was like really getting me to like stick into the game to where I'm like, I'm going to take this game to the long haul. Once I hit like probably the 12, 13 hour mark, based on how fast, again, we're trying to stay away from spoiling anything because there's a lot of cool stuff that happens the later in the game. But I didn't get into the game until like hour 12 or 13, when you get kind of reunited with a character, is where the game like really picked up, and I was like, cool, I want to interact with this character, and I'm doing all that character's like side missions as opposed to earlier in the game. I was like, fuck all these side missions. But now when this character's like, help me do something, I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna help you. So I ended up getting really caught up in like the characters and the story then. Though I'm like 18, 19 hours in. Anytime I run across like a rune or like anything that adds lore, like some object, I'm not reading that shit anymore. Because like I'm 18 hours into the game. You find like glyphs that like Mimir, you show it to him, and then he'll be like, "Oh, I'll add this to the lore journal." I'm not reading that anymore.
I've never opened that. I'll look at it, I'll interact with it, but I won't click the touchpad to read it.
Well, some of them sound interesting, but now I'm at the point where I'm like 18 hours in. I'm just like, you know what? I just want to spend time with these characters. I don't want to read like these like stories, even though they're probably really fascinating. Early on, they were pretty fascinating.
I don't enjoy playing a video game, stopping the game, pausing it, and reading something to then play again, go another 20 minutes, find another piece, stop, pause it, read. Like that's not what I want to do.
So like I'm enjoying when you're actually walking around. I think I'm kind of done with being in the boat and having all the side talking, all the side stories being done, like all the dialogue being done when you're just on like a Disney ride. Like you spend a lot of your time basically playing or like Disney roller coaster simulator, like where you're just like on a boat going from point A to point B, and it almost feels like filler of just like, we need to find the slowest way to get you to the next story bit, so we're going to put you on this boat that you're going to have to get off and then
it's
go
a
to the other
glorified
side.
loading screen. Like, I'm sorry.
It is, and it's a shame because there is good stuff dialogue-wise during those boat rides, but again, I'm 18 hours in, and I've been on that boat on several different boats for very long stretches of time. Especially if you're trying to do all the side stuff, because they put all the side stuff on separate little islands and stuff, to where it's just like, okay, let me just like the way I've been playing it the last couple of nights is like, okay, let me hop on the boat and I'll do 2 islands or two sections.
I think you and I are kind of in the same camp. There's nothing wrong with this game, but like it literally feels like 2 games.
No, I don't think it feels like 2 games. Lengthwise, yes, but like it doesn't. I wish it felt like 2 games because like. The first,
but I mean, it's stuff that they could have, like, I guess, I don't know, if it takes 40 hours to complete the game, I would have rather had God of War Ragnarok at 20 hours and God of War whatever at another 20 hours in like 2 years.
Yeah, but I would say I don't feel like the story's progressed a lot in 18 hours.
Okay.
It's been interesting, but it has not progressed at a pace that I'm just like, damn, this has been action-packed. It took 12 hours for me to get into the game. Okay. It makes me think like the reason they didn't do a trilogy is they didn't have enough content to fill a trilogy, so they just came out and were like, we're not doing a trilogy, which I respect that. The idea that they're like, hey, we're not going to drag this out, but I'm like...
But does it mean that we're getting 2.5 games? Like,
Yeah, but it almost feels like you didn't really have much for a sequel at certain points. Right. Again, at this point in the game, I'm 18 hours in, where I'm just like... I just wish it was like a little speedier. Like, I'm tired of...
In comparison, like Last of Us 2 kind of like... hit you in the face very early,
and consistently
did. Yeah, and God of War I don't think is even slapped my ass yet.
Yeah, no, it's
yet. I'm expecting it, and when
you're
it
a couple
happens,
hours
I'll be
behind
like,
me.
Cool. Yeah.
So like you will hit that point where you're like, okay, here we go, but the game still expects you to be like, take this boat ride to this other island to do the side story. Yeah. And that's where it kind of disconnects for me. But I wish there was a way to go through the story faster. Just because... to go through the story faster without losing a combat. Because I know you could put it on the easiest difficulty, but that's
just
still...
smack everything once. So
yeah, but that's still not going to make the boat ride shorter. It's not going to make going through tunnels and underground tunnels disappear. Because at that point, like... There's so many of those instances where I'm just like, we're just loaded in a new area. Like,
but at the same time, there are instances that have happened in the game already where I've been super fascinated and I haven't wanted to leave an area. But I know I need to because I want to progress the story. But I was so fascinated by what was happening in that area that I wanted to stay.
Yeah, I kind of see that, but I also feel like the areas are so broken up into tiny little sections because they can only handle... tiny little sections at a time, to where I'm just like,
and that was more stuff that tied to the first game more than what the additional stuff that they're trying to tell for this one.
Yeah. So again, I still think this is a great game. It's a good game. I know there's gonna be people bothered that we're not like head over heels.
Actually, we really haven't been getting any smoke from anybody about what we've been saying about it, so that kind of tells me that, for the most part, they kind of agree.
Potentially. If you don't, tweet Dave on Twitter.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, usually, I mean, I'll say something funky and I'll get some just random smoke from people, and I haven't really been getting any of that, or somebody like, and a lot of people that listen to the show have finished the game. And either they're behind and they haven't caught up and realized that we said something to yell at us, or they're kind of like, okay, like they're kind of maybe not nodding their head up and down, but kind of moving it side to side, like, okay, I can see it. You know, I can see where they're coming from.
Now that you say that, I feel like on social media, a lot of people that finish the game, they're not still talking about the game, which I think is...
But I also feel like that's been par for the course for Sony games. They live in this window of time.
I don't know. People were talking about The Last of Us for a long time after they finished that game.
But Horizon, they weren't. Like, everybody's like, oh, Horizon told an amazing story, and then the next week they weren't talking about it anymore.
And that happened with the first Horizon as well.
Right. And for the most part, like, it happens with Spider-Man. Not necessarily as much Miles Morales because of what they were doing with Miles in terms of the current state of the world.
The first God of War had a long conversation afterwards, probably because it was so different than the previous God of Wars.
Right.
Before it. But yeah, I see your point.
The Last of Us 2 had more dialogue legs than The Last of Us 1, in my opinion.
Yeah. And also might be due to like releases around the time.
Right.
Like right now, God of War came out when people are revisiting like Elden Ring and other stuff are surprising people. Like, I didn't know.
I've seen people talk about, like, what a ride, what an amazing story that Santa Monica's telling. Like, like this was fantastic. I've seen that, but that's kind of the end of the tweet. Like, you don't see like a week later going, oh, this still resonates with me, which it might, but it's not resonating them with enough to continue the conversation on it, or to engage in another conversation with somebody else, at least publicly.
Yeah, at least in the circles that we go, because like otherwise we see. I mean, I think we've probably seen more people talk about how they like Gotham Knights, which is odd, than with God of War, which is odd because Gotham Knights wasn't great or good.
Right.
But
they released that additional content this week too, by the way. Gotham Knights did.
Cool.
I got an email about it. That's the only reason I remembered.
No, yeah, and I probably won't return to it.
Far Cry 6 is getting an expansion too. So
I didn't know before today that I'm probably picking up Midnight Suns, because the reviews for that have been fantastic. The reviews are actually
going pretty good, and that might just be something I kick January off with at this point. So.
And Need for Speed seems to be doing really well review-wise, which is just odd to me.
Kind of sucks that these games come out in December, though. Like, I mean, it's great
Callisto
for
Protocol
us.
comes out this week.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have money for all these games. I'm going to have
Callisto Protocol, Midnight Suns, and Need for Speed in December are all things that people are like, hey, these are pretty good.
Yeah.
You know?
And they missed the Game Award cutoff, so they're not going to be represented in there. And I know Keighley says, like, hey, we will consider these games for next year, but they never
Nobody's going to remember those. Yeah.
No, exactly. They never make the cut.
Was it this year? Well, no, it wasn't. It was last year, but it was after the thing. Oh, okay. Just forget it.
Callisto Protocol's in, like, a tough spot because, like, Dead Space comes out, like, a month later. Yeah. So it's like...
So they get their window, and that's it. Like,
just right before Christmas, and I don't really know if Callisto Protocol is a Christmas game.
Right.
But yeah. So I've just been playing God of War. Me and Sarah started the Wednesday Addams TV show on Netflix. That's surprisingly really good. I was worried.
Angela actually mentioned that she wants to watch that. I'm like, why? And she's like, because it sounds like the actress just knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, Jenny Ortega, I think is the name. She's
never
really
been
good.
my wife's never really been an Addams Family fan, but she's just like, they're fine, but she's like when I saw it, I'm like, okay. I was like, interesting, and then I saw some headline that it's outpacing Stranger Things for viewership right now, and then Angela was mentioned it to me, and I'm like, well, do you really have an interest in that? And she's like, it just sounds like this. The what's her name again? I'm sorry.
Jenny Ortega, I think. I want to say
it does some phenomenal. Like she's just fantastic.
Well, and that's the thing is, people were worried because like Christina Ricci as Wednesday Addams is like iconic. That's like right up there with like Winona Ryder in anything Winona Ryder did in the 80s and 90s. So her stepping up to this, and she's like turned into like the new Scream queen because she was in like the movie X and Scream and a couple other movies. But yeah, she's doing a really good job. The show's pretty funny. I was worried they were gonna go in that like Riverdale like area of like entertainment, but I think they found like a good place between like, hey, this works for teens and adults. Like it's got some blood, it's got some gore in it a little bit, but it also has like the high school drama stuff. So where like everyone can probably find something in this. And again, the main actress is like doing a really good job. So we're almost done with that. So that's just kind of been the thing we've been watching on the side. I did go to a wrestling show last week.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot. It feels like that was so long ago, but Thanksgiving was last week. So went to a wrestling show. I don't remember the wrestling show too much. It's probably why we all are sick over here. Like everyone's sick right now. But yeah, it was AEW at the Wintrust Arena where DePaul plays. So a smaller arena. It's like a 7,000 seat arena. I remember there was some pretty entertaining matches. The CM Punk stuff the crowd was like ready to fight for the CM Punk stuff, but the wrestlers found good ways to like use that like anger and passion from fans to actually make the fans kind of look stupid. It was kind of hilarious. But yeah, it was kind of wild. So I didn't know we were basically going to 3 shows. Okay. So the doors open at 5, show started at 6, but from 5 to 7, they were just filming their YouTube show. And that was interesting to watch how they do the YouTube show. It's like one person doesn't get an entrance, one person does, and they were just burning through these matches because they use these YouTube matches over the course of a couple weeks. So we actually ended up pricing like 15 matches before the actual show started. And then we got to watch the live show that was on TV. And then after that, they recorded the Friday show. So we ended up sitting through like 5 hours of wrestling. And I did not plan to sit through that much wrestling. But it was fascinating seeing like how they do other pre-tapes and like in between shows, they're like changing the turnbuckles and ring aprons, putting out like a new carpet on the stage to make it look like a new show. So just watching like the crew work several times very, very quickly was fascinating because I'm a weirdo and I found that like to be the most interesting thing. But yeah, that was my week. And then Thanksgiving happened.
Yeah. Black Friday, Cyber Monday was kind of weak, by the way. Like there was just nothing crazy. Like,
yeah, I bought Cowabunga collection on the Switch for $20. And I bought some PSN games, but really haven't done that much. Oh, Sarah's playing Assassin's Creed Unity. And so I've been watching her play Assassin's Creed Unity. Just on a whim, we were just like, oh, let's just play like the Assassin's Creed that takes place in Paris. Just so we can like explore old Paris.
All right, so we're going to move on to a couple questions quickly here. We'll probably get you guys out of here, a little shorter show. So you can send us questions and comments using hashtag AskDigitalDays. So Cordy, Wyatt, sends in, after watching Adam Savage make the God of War axe, it made me curious. If you could get any item from a game, faithful recreated as a prop, what would it be? I I mean, obviously you can see behind me for the most part if you ever watch the streams when the camera's a little bit bigger. Like I like, little figurines or characters, things. I guess if it really came down to it of what I would really, really want, trying to like purposely stay away from Destiny because they made some really, really cool looking guns. Mm-hmm. It would honestly be like a life-size Master Sword, I think.
I kind of thought you would go there. I feel like that would be... Yeah. Anything else? What Destiny gun would you want to have made? Because we got to know.
If it could be like what they would like to scale.
Yeah, to scale, doesn't have to work or do anything.
It would probably
fancy.
be Galahorn. Like they've made a Nerf Galahorn, but it had like the orange cup on the front of it, like because like, hey, this is a Nerf rocket launcher. If I could get something that would be really like not even necessarily have to function, but like the size of what it would be if like
just something to put on like a mantle if you're a weirdo. So for me, Keyblades from Kingdom Hearts. I have some Keyblades, or technically they're Sarah's Keyblades that we got at like conventions, and they look really good, but there's always just something a little off about them that just, they can't recreate that like look that they do in the games. So like a really nice Keyblade, especially there's some really intricate Keyblades in a Kingdom Hearts series. It would be really cool to have something like that. And then something that's probably a little basic and I could probably find like a really good replica is the Sly Cooper cane. I feel like that wouldn't be difficult because it is like a wooden cane with like a gold like top. But I don't know. I always loved the design of his cane and kind of want to hit up Etsy now to see like how good some people have made the cane. But I would really like something like that. Especially that's something that you could just have and you could just lie to people and be like, oh, it's my grandfather's cane.
Yeah. I think now that you said that, like, cane. I think like Nathan Drake's journal, like the actual journal with like pages in it, that that would be cool. Like a functional journal, like not just a beat up leather thing that you open up and it's blank pages, but if it actually had like stuff in it that you'd see in the game too, like that would be kind of cool from the Uncharted franchise.
So I have this. It's the God of War journal from the first God of War.
Yeah,
I got this at
that's like
E3.
supposed to be like a functional journal, like you're actually supposed to write in it yourself, right?
Yes, yeah, but like the paper is like nice and warped and stuff like that to where it does look like the journal, Atreus' journal. I think they got this at an E3 or something, but like. Yeah, I would love a Nathan Drake one, but it would need to be filled out with like the puzzles that he gets, like as opposed to this.
Like the note taking he took actually in the game, from either game, like one from one of the games or one with all like 4 games in it or whatever, like all 4 things in it, like that'd be cool. So
yeah.
All right, so Jacob Tyler Blaker writes, MJC and Dave yelled at us for 15 minutes about how the Switch 2 will not be like the Steam Deck. And then tell us their predictions. We've kind of talked about what we want out of a Switch 2, and I think it's just running better. Like I don't really think
Switch,
that they need
1080p 60 frames. That's all I want. Like it's never going to be like the Steam Deck because
I don't
Nintendo
think it needs to. At this point in time, I don't even know what the exact screen size on the Switch is. Is it a 7-inch? Is it a 9? I don't remember. I don't think it needs to be any bigger.
Nope. This needs to be more powerful.
Yep.
If you can give me a 4K,
not heavier,
like, because it's only a 720p screen, but God, if you can give me like an iPhone screen on there, but like,
what is the Steam Deck like? Is Steam Deck pulling off 1080p?
I gotta look that up. I want to say yes.
Somebody's already looking up. Curry found you a cane for $40 Canadian on the Etsy store.
It's not good. So the Steam Deck is like a 720p. It's a little higher than 720p, I believe. It's capable of 1280 by 800. So not quite 1080p.
So even like a Steam Deck's not accomplishing it either. So like I think in terms of a handheld, and I don't even like. I guess my question, like what I want out of a Switch 2 would be, if you can't give it to me 1080p 60 or whatever in handheld mode, I want it in docked mode.
Yeah, like
I want to see when I dock it looks better on my TV than it does. Like,
if we could get a Switch that has a dock that has whatever you need to make it more powerful, is what I would want. Give me a reason to dock it at that point. But yeah, I think I don't think Nintendo's going to go cutting edge or anything like that. I think either Nintendo is going to give you a very basic Switch 2. Or you're going to get something completely different than a Switch. Like, because Nintendo doesn't really seem to play it safe when they go from generation to generation. They always do something different. So it's not going to be anything crazy, I think. If they do go the route Switch 2, it's just going to be a Switch Pro. And then they'll buy them a couple years for them to do the next crazy thing. Which I don't know what that would be, but Nintendo always seems to find a way to do something weird and crazy.
All right, and then Ben Palmer writes in, "What is your holy grail to add to your collection? Game, system, collectibles, etc." I don't really have any nostalgic attachment to older stuff.
No, I like console wise. I would really like to have all the Nintendo 64s that are different colors. Not even to play, just to have on display. Game-wise, I do have a list of games that I'm always looking for. Still looking for 50 Cent Blood on the Sand on 360. Still looking for some random imports, which I'm just going to pull in the trigger and importing the games. But in terms of like actual like cool collectible, that's not me just reading off my PS3 wish list, would be like the different like translucent N64s, because I think those are really nice. Hate playing on the N64, but I really loved all the cool color designs they did, and like the Donkey Kong N64 console, the Pikachu N64. Those are probably up there, but they're fucking expensive now. Like, I'm so mad that I don't have my N64 anymore. That I let my mom give it away to some family friends instead of keeping it. But that's kind of everything I'm looking for. So N64s, but all of them. Nothing, Dave?
I know. I don't. Like, I've been, yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, I've got fond memories of like Super Nintendo and all that stuff, but I don't have any desire to have another Super Nintendo. Like, I would start playing it, I'd get bored. Like, I maybe I'm weird.
Oh,
like, or I am weird with that. So
I just have another one. I would love the 20th anniversary PS4. The one that looks like a PS1 color design. I would really like that. But yeah. I'm getting into video game collecting. I don't know why. I mean, I know why, but like, I'm really into collecting. I guess that happens when you get old. You just want to play old games. But even me,
I don't want to play old games though.
but even for me, like, I'm not even playing most of the PS3 games I get. I just put them on the shelf and be like, yes, I have this now. Which I've become a nightmare human when it comes to that. But I don't really collect anything else, like. That's pretty much it. Just like PS3 games. I'm not really going out of my way to collect other things. I have like no interest in building out my PS4 or PS5 collection physically. Yeah. It's only the PS3, and it's just purely because of nostalgia.
All right. That is our show for this week. So as always, you can follow us on Twitter. The main account is @DigitalDaysPod. Michael's is @TheFirstMJC. Mine is @GoodDaveHunt. Facebook group, Discord server, and a bunch of other shows. A bunch of other links are in the show notes that you can check out to join the community, hang out with us, participate in Discord. Join the Facebook group. Follow us on social media so you're aware of what's going on. Teespring's account is there. PayPal accounts are there. Patreons are there. Any of those things to just check in the show notes. And again, please consider leaving a review and sharing. And I hope everyone has a great week. And keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya.